Hello and welcome to the video for the third Street Barbell Prep that I have kind of put together training footage from training for this meet. It is the night before leaving for Sacramento. I have very low calories going into the meet, cutting weight, and also very low fluids, so I'm mega dehydrated and I might make less sense than I would like to. This first training clip is from when I was doing 90 kilos for front squats and forgot to bring the proper knee sleeves that day. That was probably one of the hardest sets that I did all prep, and it wasn't even one of the main movements. I've been doing a lot of half of my bench press days at home, and I actually really like the bench setup we have at home. Throughout this prep, I guess during the first few weeks before it started to rain, or the first few months, I did incorporate a lot of walking outside just for fresh air, and discovered that there's a bunch of neighborhood cats that hang out just a couple blocks away. And part of what actually is inspiring me to sit here and do this right now while my brain is dying is I am waiting for my nails to dry, which is my pre-meet ritual. This is some footage from exploring the sculpture garden at Stanford. It was kind of interesting to do with my family. This was a really nice, I'd say the weather was really nice for it being winter, and it was really good to go outside and get some vitamin D, some sunshine before it got super wet for a few weeks. And I would definitely encourage visiting this garden if you get a chance to. It is located at Stanford. There's also a succulent, I guess, garden, or a cactus garden not too far away, so really great place to look at cacti. Very tempted to jump in there because I love cacti, but probably not safe. So I resonated very much with the statues that look like they had to chop their limbs off to make weight, because since my last meet, I have intentionally put weight on so that I have more lean mass getting closer to the meet. So the idea is over time to increase lean mass and improve body composition, basically, so that you are at your meet weight, but you're carrying more lean tissue than fat. And so because I had the chance to try the RP diet app, because I won it from my last meet, I thought this would be a good chance to actually track my macros more seriously and practice leading into my next prep. So I guess it's making it a little bit harder to meet weight because I intentionally increased weight going into the cut. And it was quite amazing how many carbs and calories I was able to intake. I think at my peak it was about 270 carbs, and my activity level didn't vary that much between the highest carb amount I was given versus the lowest amount during my cutting phase. So the output didn't change too much, but I was able to maintain my body weight with a really high carb amount. Versus while cutting, I actually had to go,
Are you okay, dude?
No. I'd say slightly around half of I had to cut my carbs by about half. And I think the difference between using the app and what I usually do to make weight is I usually incorporate carb cycling, so I can kind of match my activity levels. I can kind of gauge how I'm feeling and change the amount of carbs I have per day, versus with the app, it's very strict. It kind of asks you for the weekly what your week looks like, and it breaks it down based off of activity levels and exercise. So it's a lot more restricting, and I think it's good for something to follow, but it doesn't quite give you the ability to really track how you're feeling and gauge based off of that. It's pretty set. Like, you can't, it doesn't really allow for much freedom. So you can add to it that you are more active on certain days if you think you might be needing more energy for those days, but it doesn't really ask you how you're feeling or how training's going. So I think it might be good for general people dieting, or maybe if they're cutting for a sport that isn't performance-based, like bodybuilding. That would make sense because your training numbers or what you can hit are not the priority. It's how you look. These are some clips from my random trip to IKEA, because one day I woke up and I just wanted hangers. I just felt like I needed more hangers, and it's just part of my winter that wasn't gym time. Something that stood out to me was pandas in containers, and also a wooden body figurine. So I don't have that many sets of bench recorded because half of my bench I do at home, and while at the gym for bench on Mondays, it's usually really packed and there really isn't a place to set up a tripod. Looking back, I do wish I had recorded more footage of bench, as it is really technical, and it would have been really great to see how I changed or didn't change my foot placement and breathing, because I noticed on certain heavy days I would kind of get a little lightheaded because I would almost choke myself out picking up the bar because I wasn't breathing into where I should be breathing. And then noticed that on the lighter sets before and after, I didn't have that issue. And so that's something that I want to make sure doesn't happen on meet day, because the weight itself doesn't feel that heavy, but then me kind of choking myself out isn't good. It's kind of like I just get dizzy when I need to push. And if I had more footage, I think I'd be able to maybe watch out and see which part of my chest is rising or isn't rising, or if I'm just like holding all the air in my cheeks, which isn't really helpful. Closer to the meet, I do practice wearing a singlet. I'd say I don't really like having to train in a singlet. It makes it really hard to go to the bathroom, and it also pretty much, it outlines like every part of your body. I feel like because my singlet is also red, it just draws a lot more attention than I would like while training. But it's really good to at least, as you get closer to a meet, to wear things that are more meet specific. So by the time it's almost meet time, I'm wearing the shoes that I'm competing in, the sleeves I'm competing in, the belts I'm competing in, and of course the singlet, which is really important for squats because people wear it or require that so they can see the hip crease very clearly. And so this is a video that I took from the side because that is what I wanted to look for, to make sure that I was hitting depth with my newer lower bar placement. And again, that was some fun food and a rainbow for you before the cut got even more intense towards the end. And part of this prep, I've really enjoyed progressing with pause deadlifts. Again, sorry for the just now. My brain is like deep in a fog. But the pause deadlifts, I feel like I really got a lot out of feeling the off the floor part, which is the hardest part for me, and just getting in a really good position. And it helped to prep me for the harder singles that I had on the same day. And so I think that worked really well. And I almost would rather do a pause deadlift than a regular deadlift for comp day, just because pause deadlifts just feel really good right now. This is a front view for squats because I have noticed a lot of lifters do post their front view more often. I like to film from the side, which is, I guess, more of a coach's angle and also better look at technique, because from the front it's a little harder to tell if you hit depth or not. But I wanted to film from the front and feel if that was the same sensation as when I filmed from the side for similar sets, similar strength, similar weight, I guess, to make sure, just to see like what, when someone shows something from the front, like how does that compare to how it feels from the side. So this has been some of my training footage from the last few weeks. I hope you found some of this interesting or informative, and I will be heading off to Sacramento tomorrow, and I am very nervous. Thank you so much for watching, and I will be back with a meet recap video shortly.